All right, folks. I don't know if this is going live, but it says so. Hey, I'm rolling with it because using two different browsers, and all I know is this is that never had anything like that happen before. But hey, I'm rolling with it because we got favor on our lives, and nothing missing, nothing broken. So it looks like everything is rolling. So welcome everybody. Thank you for hitting the like button, and hey, I like you too. We feed the machine, as they would say. So I hope that this continues to roll seamlessly as we progress through this. And if you're in the chat room, say hello. Hey, Grandpa Brian, you're going to be on Friday. Looking forward to it. How am I doing today? I am doing exceptionally well. I am unique and digging it. So there you go. Hey, Jackie, what's up? Good to see you. Nothing missing, nothing broken. You got that right. Hey, Bernadette, hello. And Chloe, good to see you. Joyce, hello. Stephanie. Let's see. What else is happening? Claire, what's up? Good to see you as well. Yeah. Weird. Hey, listen, why should that be any different, right? It's like we're in a time where the unexpected is to be expected. That's all I know. Hey, Joe, what's up? Good to see you. Slate, hello, Bucky. How are you doing? Good to see you. Thank you for tuning in. Think you're going to enjoy this. Eric, good to see you. Jack Dreaming, hello from I believe that is London town over there. How you doing? And Jenny, if you're listening, hello, darling. Beloved Abstract, sip right back at you. Good to see you. John Price, hello, Ginger. Much love to you, dear. Robert V is in the house. Hey, thank you, Robert. I enjoyed that show with Ryder and with Chris and Jay and Pam and David. Going to have David on, going to have Pam on. It was fun. Good conversation, diverse, rich. And if you haven't seen it, go over there, check it out on Raised by Giants with Ryder Lee. Going to have him back on. So, hey, AK Morningstar, how you doing? Good to see you. Scotty Boy, what's up? Jargo, hello, Amy. Good to see you. Yeah, I enjoyed it. It was lots of fun. Wow, this is just really cool. It's, you know, if you have a will, you have a way, right? That's what they say. Tomorrow, got Lindsay Brown. Got to make sure that Lindsay, I'm looking forward to this. Was introduced to her by Chris Matthew over at their Forbidden Knowledge News. So appreciate it. Hey, preliminary, good to see you. What else is happening? So all right. What else is going on? From what I have read, and I've got Courtney, and Courtney, I trust that your healing is going well and you're back up at a speed. Hey, Paul Joe, good to see you. The results, I'll probably go through them on Friday, but I like this. We are doing well, my friends. This is a first time for the group, and way to go. So, hey, Queen of Swords, what's up? Good to see you. Thank you for dropping on in. So what else at you? All right. I want to get right into this. Hey, Lost in Space, good to see you, Bonnie. Hello, Deborah. Good to see you. And if I don't see you while I'm reading it, I just appreciate y'all. Thank you. I mean, but there's changes afoot, and these are the good old days. Carly had it right. These are the good old days. It's true. We're making memories. I'm going to take mine with me, and in those memories of mine live every one of you. That's far out. I mean, man, kind of get with the old high five going, yeah. And we'll all meet on the other side over on the astral plane, as they would say. So, yeah. All righty. We're just gonna speak right now, favor and grace over this show that everything goes smoothly and there will be no interruptions. And so we rock and roll. All right. So this is a subject that I near and dear to me. I mean, I've lived my life because the way life was going to start out, I had a plan coming in, apparently. I know I did. And then something came along and screwed that plan up, like it always does. Your friend smelled your breakfast earlier. That's interesting. I like that. Hey, Eric, good to see you. Because I'll just lay it out there as I was thinking about this morning, praying in tongues in the shower the whole time. It was very interesting. But there were enough things that could have derailed my life, but those events didn't. And in each one of those events, I learned something and learned that I'm a very resilient spirit. I possess many different talents. And even though I had those around me that were trying to, let's say, how the Beatles say, bring me down. Yeah. Your friend Bucky lives in another state. Well, Joe, that is exciting. That's, hey, Truth Seeker, good to see you. And one of the things that I learned really early in life, I was on my own at the age of 15. I seen the economy of those that had and those that didn't. Now, those were back in the days where us hippies were ruling things. There was a complete counterculture. And within that counterculture, I learned a lot. What I learned is it's all up here. I mean, there is the existence of this, that place where the energy is transmuted, far out place. But I learned that most everything in this realm is mental. So being on the street, you had to fend for yourself. I mean, at 15, no one gave a crap about me. I was what they called throwaway kids. I mean, the system still isn't designed for teenagers. The child welfare systems are designed primarily for smaller children. And, the state of Texas and its wisdom, Harris County, they put me out in the streets and it was cool. It was the path that I apparently would have chosen no matter what. And I learned a lot. And what I learned was what I think about is what I manifest. We've talked about it on this channel with many others. My whole period of time when I was, heavily into the psychedelics and never had a bad trip. Actually, I liked that reality because when I was under the influence of lysergic diethylamide, LSD, or mescaline or peyote or whatever it was, that reality was totally dependent on me. I was the one who created the reality. And when you're in altered states of consciousness, in which that's where you are, as many of us know, those who have bad trips, I always found they were in a bad place to begin with. And they manifested exactly what was on the inside. That's the risk you do with those type of ingredients. It can be, how shall we say, eye-opening. And for myself, Lynn and I were talking about this recently. She asked me, she said, because she's never done her and I lived a completely 180 degrees different in the way we came through life. And I'm so grateful that, life put us together. But she was asking, she said, so what drew you to that? And I had to think about it. And I said, well, again, much like I just said a second ago, I said I could create my own reality. I mean, I'd come out where, beatings were daily. Some adult was, beating my body, breaking my bones, and trying to break my spirit. Never did. And I said, so I found out very quickly that, while, under the influence of these hallucinogenics, I could create my own reality. And it became a safe place. Never was a bad place. So as you move on through life, I realized that it's easy to let the weeds come in. I mean, the bad thoughts. So often, and I'm going to be looking forward to Lindsay's conversation tomorrow, because that's what she specializes in, is healing early traumatic things. And many of us have been there. You face those demons, and then, you get to that point where you get it. Never be the victim, be the victor, no matter what the situation. So my whole point to this is that I saw those who struggled and those who didn't. And I often wondered, what's the difference between an individual who seems to not to have a care in the world, everything comes their way, they really don't have to struggle that hard, and they seem to have the life that, if you're going to have a life here, this is the life you'd want. And then you have the others. And there seems to be a whole lot of the others that struggle every day, all their lives. They work 40 years, 45 years, only to retire to realize that their whole life force has been sucked out of them. And they struggle. And where we talk about favor, and I'm speaking favor over us all, be of service to others, Bosto, and happy birthday if you got one. We proclaim prosperity, because the alternative is poverty. And I don't like poverty. I don't like it at all. Back in the days when I was a road warrior, working for one of the largest video duplicators in the United States, my sales territory took me through Appalachia, Eastern Kentucky, Western Virginia, West Virginia. Now, brothers and sisters, that's poverty. I saw in Appalachia, it's changed very little, even today. Poverty it's ingrained into that culture of people. And it's not that they're ignorant. It's not that they're any of that at all. It's part of who you are if you're in that region. And those who do break away from it are always the minority. So Melanie says, I have no sound. Well, Joyce said, I can, because you're getting it. Poverty can be refusal to comply. It's interesting about poverty, because, it has that whole sense that, well, poverty, what does that mean? How is poverty defined? Is it defined through social economic lenses? I know a lot of wealthy people that are broke ass spiritually. I mean, they don't have any awareness of anything. That's poverty. I mean, to be devoid of any sense of awareness more than that which is, outside of oneself, yeah, that's a sense of poverty. But I think that for the most of us, poverty is something that I don't particularly embrace, don't like it, uh, don't care for it. So we're talking today about it works. And I know that this works. I found out, through my 50 years, I still carry this. Why? Well, I got notes in here that are incredible. They're special, but I learned something about what we're about to get into. And this applies very nicely with the egregore that we have created. It's alive. It's here. But I want to read something that I carried with me for the longest time in building companies. I adapted to this. And it says, write the vision and engrave it so plainly upon the tablets that everyone who passes by be able to read it easily and quickly as he hastens by. For the vision is yet for an appointed time. It hastens to the end to be fulfilled, and its fulfillment shall come. It will not deceive or disappoint. Though it tarry, wait earnestly for it, because it will surely come. It will not be behind-handed on its appointed day. And the background story to that is that the nation of Israel was coming out of captivity from Babylon, and the temple had been destroyed, didn't exist. That's where Nehemiah comes into the story, if any of you know your Old Testament history. But anyway, my point to that is that the people were depressed. I mean, here they were coming back into their home country, and it had been completely decimated. Wasn't one stone left where Solomon's temple once stood. And so their God told Habakkuk, this is what I want you to say, because when people would come in during the morning and, set up, the things that they did, they would pass through what they called the sheep gate. And so this prophet was right there and drew out literally the drawing of the new temple. And the moral to that story is, if a group of people focus in on one thing, it will come to pass. Can't be stopped. So it works. I've told you the story, if many of you know, about Jacob and Rachel, how Jacob was screwed by his uncle Laban, and how he changed his reality by focusing on one thing. And not only that, but he got the animals around him to focus on it as well, and it produced. So this stuff works. There was a gentleman that I dearly admired, Bill Winston. See, I come out of this. I know this works. You can endure the largest disaster that you can imagine and still come out smelling. You can go right through the fire with the smell of smoke on you. So Bill Winston, I really enjoyed it because he used to teach on this one. This is what I really like: manifesting abundance. I know this subject. I know it well. Through my indoctrination, I learned what they call the ABCs of faith. And I applied those principles, and they work. And today I'm more excited than ever, because now we've entered into a new place here. We really understand that our thoughts are more important than what most ever realize. And your thoughts can be controlled, they can be harnessed, and they create. We know that. So let's get right into it. Again. So I'm going to make sure to keep. So this is the book. It was written in the 1920s. It's called It Works, the famous little red book that makes your dreams come true. A clear, definite, common sense plan of accomplishment written by R.H.J., the famous little book. Now, this is a fascinating little book. It's a small one, and it's so cool. If you want this PDF, I have it. Be more than happy to share it with you. Here's the original. This is the late 1920s. Notice the symbolism. I find it very interesting. Then later in 1964, he came out with a revised cover. This is in 1966, a complete rework. The imagery is very interesting because if you look at this, this is again the cross. This is what we would call a broken cross. Yeah, y'all many of you are going, see it. Yeah, it's there. And then in 1985, this was the 409,000, I guess, edition of the book. So It Works. Let's get right into it for this. In fact, it says the author sent the manuscript of this book for criticism to a friend who returned it with the notation, "It works." This judgment born of experience was adapted as the title of the book, the publishers. Again, Byron. Courtney got it yesterday. All who joy would win must share it. Happiness was born a twin. Love it. A concise, definite, resultful plan with rules, explanations, and suggestions for bettering your condition of life. If you know what you want, you can have it. Now, give me 1 second, please. This is harder than it appears to be. I know this. I taught sales motivation for a number of years, wrote a complete sales course on it, taught thousands of people that sales course. And I can tell you, almost every student that came into the seminar, the workshop, found it very difficult to get real specific about what they want. Everyone has a generality of what they want. Most just want fame, riches, spoils, But those few, and they are out there, who can tell you concisely what they want, will have it. I'm at that point in my life where I can look back and I can see what works and doesn't work. Says the man who wrote this book is highly successful and widely known for his generosity and helpful spirit. He gives full credit for all that he has accomplished in mastering circumstances, accumulating wealth, and winning friends to the silent working out of the simple, powerful truth which he tells of in his work. He shows you here an easy, open road to a larger, happier life, knowing that the greatest good comes from helping others without expecting praise. The thing is, don't seek praise out. If your works are not known by others, the reward is tenfold sweeter. In fact, the person who they claimed to be Jesus said, if you're out there praying in the streets just to get the accolades of the people saying, oh, well, he or she is a very holy person, that's all you're going to get. But if you do it in secret, yeah, you'll be rewarded in public. That's what the actual verse says. Anyway, the author of this work has requested that his name be omitted. What is the real secret of obtaining desirable possessions? Are some people born under a lucky star or other charm which enables them to have all that which seems so desirable? And if not, what is the cause of the difference in conditions under which men live? Many years ago, feeling that there must be a logical answer to this question, I decided to find out, if possible, what it was. I found the answer to my own satisfaction, and for years have given the information to others who have used it successfully. From a scientific, psychological, or theological viewpoint, some of the following statements may be interpreted as incorrect, but nevertheless, the plan has brought the results desired to those who have followed the simple instructions. And it is my sincere belief that I am now presenting it in a way which will bring happiness and possessions to many more. If wishes were horses, beggars would ride, is the attitude taken by the average man and woman in regard to possessions. They are not aware of a power so near that it is overlooked, so simple in operation that it is difficult to conceive, and so sure in results that it is not made use of consciously or recognized as the cause of failure or success. Gee, I wish that were mine, is the outburst of Jimmy, the office boy, as a new red roadster goes by. And Florence, the telephone operator, expresses the same thought regarding a ring in the jeweler's window. While poor old Jones, the bookkeeper, during the Sunday stroll, replies to his wife, yes, dear, it would be nice to have a home like that, but it's out of the question. We will have to continue to rent. Lindman, the salesman, protests that he does all the work, gets the short end of the money, and will someday quit his job and find a real one. And President Bonham, in his private sanctorium, voices a bitter tirade against the annual attack of hay fever. At home, it is much the same. Last evening, father declared that daughter, Mabel, was headed straight for disaster. And today, mother's allowance problems and others' trying affairs fade into insignificance as she exclaims, this is the last straw, Robert. Robert's school's teacher wants to see me this afternoon. His reports are terrible. I know, but I'm late for bridge now. She'll have to wait until tomorrow. So she goes, the endless stream of expressions like these from millions of people in all classes who give no thought to what they really want and who are getting all they are entitled to or expect. You know, I just want to stop here, and I correct people with this all the time. I have people say this, well, this will kill you. No. Other people say, well, I'm just dying to learn, to know. Really? Well, you have what you say. That's killing me. Really? Okay. And they don't even realize that they're saying it. For me, it hurts my ears to hear people say that, because I shake my head realizing that they don't have any idea what they're really saying. This is where this principle bites you, because it will bring to pass every freaking negative thought thing you have. No matter how much positivity you try to cram in there, you're going to have an opposing force always going against it. And then people get discouraged and say, well, that crap don't work. Yeah, it does. It did exactly what you said it would do. Says if you're one of these millions of thoughtless talkers or wishers and would like to decide a decided change from your present condition, you can have it. But first of all, you must know what you want. And this is no easy task. How many of you got your list? You can't show it to anyone. I can tell you, I've gone through this exercise so many times, but even with myself, it takes a good solid week for me to get, and this is what we're having to do, to get refocused, get specific enough that to where if someone is what back in the days when with the startups I were with in competing to get into investor conferences, the one I remember the Southwest Venture Conference, the elevator pitch was literally in an elevator. We were at the Lowe's Hotel and right there in Dallas, and we got use of an elevator that went right from the lobby all the way up to the 24th floor. And that was exactly how long you had to deliver your value proposition. I got good at it, really good at it. That's why I'm disciplined now. I can write business plans. Most people don't and can't. Business plans are vitally important. But I know this. So this is a discipline that I have taught myself. I hope many of you will possess it. Because if you do, then you, along with myself, are about to see huge changes. We continue. When you can train your objective mind, the mind you use every day to decide definitively upon the things or conditions you desire, you will have taken the first big step in accomplishing or securing what you know you want. To get what you want is no more mysterious or uncertain than the radio waves all around you. Tune in correctly, and you get a perfect result. But to do this, it is, of course, necessary to know something of your equipment and have a plan of operation. You have within you a mighty power, anxious and willing to serve you. Like an egregore as well. A powerful, capable of giving you that which you earnestly desire. This power is described by Thomas J. Hudson, PhD, LLD, author of The Law of Psychic Phenomenon, as your subjective mind. Other learned writers use different names and terms, but all agree that it is omnipotent. Therefore, I call this power Emmanuel, God in us. Regardless of the name of this great power or the conscious admission of a God, the power is capable and willing to carry to a complete and perfect conclusion every earnest desire. Let me just get back to complete and perfect conclusion. There's that word perfect. Of every earnest desire of your objective mind. But you must be really in earnest about what you want. Most people I find just wish. You know, one of the techniques I tell people, and in what I used to teach in sales, it was always about reaching the benchmark sales goals. And then the people that I taught, their sales were typically 7 figures each year. The thing is that if you want a goal, then it should be on every mirror of your house, should be on the most frequent place that most people frequent, which is the refrigerator. It should be, on your dashboard. You should, if you really want it, you'll be carrying it around in your purse or your wallet, a picture of it. And here's a second key for everyone. When you get your list, the plan wrote out, in every place where it can be done, you should have a corresponding picture. If you're believing for a new house, what does that house look like? How many square feet does it have? Does it have central air or heat? Give me the features of it. I want to know, how many rooms are you talking about? How many bedrooms? How many bathrooms? Is it going to have a basement? Does it have a finished basement? I mean, and if you can't detail it, then you're not serious. It's just a fact. As I used to tell my students, you can crap in one and wish in the other. Tell me what you're going to get first. Yeah. All right. Occasionally, wishing or half-hearted wanting does not form a perfect connection or communication with your omnipotent power. You must be in earnest, sincerely, and truthfully desiring certain conditions or things, mental, physical, or spiritual. Now, I want to inject here as well. Let's say you are believing for a house. All right, you have to understand something. If this is your objective, this is what you earnestly desire, then you have to also understand, maybe to get to that house, there's going to be changes in your life. Now, you have to be willing to accept that. And you can't bitch and moan when something comes along that goes contrary to what you have been projecting. If you can be flexible enough and say, all right, I don't know everything, I'm going to accept this. No matter how this works out, it's going to get me to my goal. Most people are not willing to do that. They're willing to go only so far. Your objective mind and will are so vacillating that you usually only wish for things the wonderful, capable power within you does not function. Most wishes are simply vocal expressions. Jimmy, the office boy, gave no thought of possessing the red roadster. Landon, the salesman, was not thinking of any other job or even thinking at all. President Bonham knew that he had hay fever and was expecting it. Father's business was quite likely successful, and Mother no doubt brought home first prize from the bridge party that day. But they had no fixed idea of what they really wanted their children to accomplish, and were actually helping to bring about the unhappy conditions which existed. If you are in earnest about changing your present condition, here is a concise, definite, definitive, resultful plan with rules, explanations, and suggestions. All right, we got part of this yesterday with Trina. The plan. Write down on paper, in order of their importance, the things and conditions you really want. The conditions are very important when you're putting that list. What kind of conditions? I mean, think that out. Do not be afraid of wanting too much. Go the limit in writing down your wants. Change the list daily, adding to or taking from it until you have it about right. Do not be discouraged on account of changes, as this is natural. Once you put it down, and those of you who are in the workshop right now, we have an egregore that is eager to be a part of what you truly want. And the more concise, the more you can visualize it and can speak it, there's no ambiguity. There will always be changes and additions with accomplishments and increasing desires. 3 positive rules of accomplishment. You ready? First, read the list of what you want 3 times a day, morning, noon, and night. Think of what you want as often as possible. 3, do not talk to anyone about your plan except to the great power within you, which will unfold to your objective mind the method of accomplishment. Commentary here. You already know how to get there. it's that allowing that other voice to speak. So often we find ourselves in places that we never wanted to be to begin with. And we question ourselves, how did we get here? But it's very easy if you're honest with yourself, just examine your past footsteps. Look at those stepping stones, learn from the mistakes. That's how we learn. I wish it was easier that way, but you know, some of us do have figured it out. It's like, well, gee, if I can just figure this out, I won't have to suffer the consequences. All right, continue. It is obvious that you cannot acquire faith at the start. This is so true. Folks, when I said, and I give credit to Kenneth Hagin. I mean, just to show you, Hagin had a way. I mean, he grew up in East Texas and was as broke as a broken board. Healed himself, from the deathbed, and eventually passed on a very wealthy man. And the thing about it is that his techniques he just applied through the lenses of religion. Even in his religion, which was primarily Southern Baptist, until he got into with the Pentecostals, was very much shunned. Religion likes broke constituents. So you're easier to manage that away. But the point is, faith, it takes time. And if you think you have faith, then get ready, because you're going to get tested. It's just part and parcel. The greater faith you have, the more the test will come. But I want to tell you something. Once you acquire faith, the next prize, and here's what so many religions, they leave off, is knowing. See, knowing is the top prize. But you can't get to knowing until you have perfected faith. What is faith? Well, I learned that, faith is now, meaning it's ever present. It's not future. It's not past tense. It's right now. Now faith is the evidence of things hoped for, the assurance of things not seen. Now you tear that apart and apply it in a secular mind frame, same principle. Some of your desires, from all practical reasons, may seem positively unattainable, but nevertheless, write them down on your list in their proper place of importance to you. There is no need to analyze how this power within you is going to accomplish your desires. Such a procedure is as unnecessary as trying to figure out why a grain of corn placed in a fertile soil shoots up a green stalk, blossoms, and produces an ear of corn containing hundreds of grains, each capable of doing what the one grain did. Blows your mind. If you will follow this definite plan and carry out the 3 simple rules, the method of accomplishment will unfold quite as mysteriously as the ear of corn appears on the stalk, and in most cases, much sooner than you expect. With new desires, deserving position at or about the top of your list come to you, then you may rest assured you are progressing correctly. Did you get that? When new desires, deserving position at or about the top of your list come to you, then you may rest assured you are progressing correctly. Removing from your list items which at first you thought you wanted is another sure indication of progress. It is natural to be skeptical and have doubts, distrust, and questionings. But when these thoughts arise, get out your list, read it over. Or if you have it memorized, talk to your inner self about your desires until the doubts that have interfered with your progress are gone. As I learned, if you will only learn to doubt your doubts, you will never doubt your doubts again. Remember, nothing can prevent you from your having that which you earnestly desire. Others have these things. Why not you? The omnipotent power within you does not enter into any controversial argument. Did you get that? It is waiting and willing to serve when you are ready. But your objective mind is so susceptible to suggestion that it is almost impossible to make any satisfactory progress when surrounded by skeptics. Therefore, choose your friends carefully and associate with people who now have some of the things you really want. But do not discuss your method of accomplishment with them. Little confession here. So, coming off the streets and et cetera, I learned something also osmosely. No one taught me this, but it's true. I always hung around people who were wealthier than myself. And it rubbed off. Really did. It's not to say that, you're bigoted. That's not what I'm saying at all. I have friends from all different, but I realized there is a difference between the difference of people. And where I was wanting to go was going to require being in those circles. And yeah, it's true. It's why the secret societies are about and the clubs, there's a reason for it. There's a reason why we come together with knowledge, because most of the people would reject this as nonsense. They're going to look at, starting at work at Jack in the Box for $20 an hour. Who would have thought? All right. Put down on your list of wants such material things as money. Don't be ashamed of that. How much money do you really want? And don't give me this highfalutin righteousness. Oh, I'm ascended. Every one of us need money. Now, some would argue with that. That's fine. But for the vast majority of us, we all need money. We need some form of something to barter with. We all need a home. Homelessness sucks. I've been there. It sucks. An automobile. If you don't think an automobile is important, try walking. Try public transportation. So don't be ashamed of this. And again, how much money would make you happy? 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, million, 10 million, 100 million? You're only limited by what you think you cannot have. A home. What kind of home do you want? I got into this before. Get specific. If you're believing for an automobile, what is it? Do you have a picture of it? Is it so well ingrained that that's when you see other cars, that's all you do is see your car? And you better claim it as your car. Because here's the interesting thing about sickness and disease. Most of the people who suffer from sickness and disease want it. They claim it. Oh, you think I'm being harsh? No, I'm being realistic. How many people do you hear in a conversation that says, oh, I have a cold, or I have You see, when you use the word I have, you've given it permission. It's yours. Yeah. Or whatever it may be, but don't stop there. Be definite. If you want an automobile, a car, decide what kind, style, price, color, and all the other details, including when you want it. If you want a home, plan the structure, the grounds, and furnishings. Little FYI here, if you really want a home, start looking at the pictures. What is it, as I said earlier? How much square foot? Tell me how the house is supposed to look. Describe it for me. You want a business? You have no idea what that business is? Start putting down that you want a business that's profitable. That's exactly for what the need of the time. I mean, it's there. Decide on location and cost. If you want money, write down the amount. If you want to break a record in your business, put it down. It may be a sales record. If so, write out the total, the date required, then the number of items you must sell to make it. Also list out your prospects and put after each name the sum expected. Now, this was 101 for me back in the days when we didn't have computers, we didn't have cell phones, but you did have, and if you were a top producer, a golden Rolodex. And I still have in my archives my golden Rolodex. And each year I was required by management, I had to list my sales goal. I had to list my current customers. I had to list my prospects. I had to list how I was going to secure those prospects, because at the top of that list was what the company said I was supposed to sell. Now, this taught me discipline, a forced discipline. But I was a top producer. There was a reason for me to be because I did the hard work. Many presidents of the company, Bill Smith, rest in peace, my good friend, saw that in me and chose me for a position that over 100 other candidates that had degrees, more experience than I did, but I got the job. And let me just tell you, I'll just digress here. When I got the job working with Allied Film and Video, the reason why I got the job is that when I went up for the interview, which I was at the time living in Florida, had to fly up to Detroit. So I fly up there, meet everyone, go through the interview process. The last person I'm to meet was the president of the company, Bill Smith. Now, prior to me going into the main office, corporate headquarters, I had a cab that took me from the airport to the office there. I paid the cab and made sure that the dispatcher knew as well and gave him a tip that at a certain specific time, he was to come here to this location and pick me up and take me back to the airport. Well, when I was in there talking with the president of the company, Bill Smith, we hit it off. There was an affinity between the two of us. Well, we got so deep in the conversation that I had got lost track on time. Well, Mr. Smith's secretary came in, Barbara, and said, I'm sorry to interrupt here, but Mr. Smith, Mr. Steiger's cab is waiting. Now, Bill Smith looked at me and he says, let me get this right. He said, you had no idea how this was going to go today, but you had the foresight to make sure that your cab, you had a ride to get you back at the airport. And I said, yes, sir. He looked at his secretary and he says, pay the cab. I said, well, I've already given him a tip. And then he said, I knew it. Long story short, he took me to the airport. I got the job. So it works, folks. It does work. All right. This may seem very foolish at first, but you can never realize your desires if you do not know positively and in detail what you want and when you want it. If you cannot decide this, you are not in earnest. You must be definite. And when you are, results will be surprising and almost unbelievable. A natural and ancient enemy will no doubt appear when you want to get your first taste of accomplishments. Hello? This enemy is discredit in form of such thoughts as it can't be possible. It just happened to be. What a remarkable coincidence. When such thoughts occur, give thanks and assert credit to your omnipotent power. Do you see this? This attitude of gratitude, constant state of mind of thanksgiving. To your omnipotent power for the accomplishments. By doing this, you gain assurance and more accomplishment, and in time, prove to yourself that there is a law which actually works at all times when you are in tune with it. Sincere and earnest thanks cannot be given without gratitude, and it is impossible to be thankful and grateful without being happy. Therefore, when you are thanking your greatest and best friend, your omnipotent power, for the gifts received, do so with all your soul and let it be reflected in your face. The power and what it does is beyond understanding. Do not try to understand it, but accept the accomplishment with thankfulness, happiness, and strengthened faith. Oh, this is good stuff. Caution. It is possible to want and obtain that which will make you miserable, that which will wreck the happiness of others, that which will cause sickness and death, that which will rob you of your eternal life. And you can have what you want, but you must take all that goes with it. So in planning your wants, plan that which you are sure will give to you and your fellow man, your partner, your soulmate, the greatest good here on earth, thus paving the way to that future hope beyond the pale of human understanding. I had this when we were doing our first getting the exercise together. We talked about a thought form whose foundation is gratitude, thanksgiving, supernatural peace. Yeah. This method of securing what you want applies to everything you are capable of desiring, and the scope being so great, it is suggested that your first list consist of only those things with which you are quite familiar, such as an amount of money or accomplishment, or such possessions of material things. You see, let me just stop here. If you've never materialized a dollar, don't start trying to materialize 1 million of them. I'm going to tell you, you're going to end in frustration because you're setting yourself up. And there's entities out there that wait for those that try to venture in those type of areas. Take it progressively. Try it with $1. Focus and manifest $1. Somewhere that $1 today is going to come to you from a complete unknown source. It may be lost, it may have been forgotten, but $1. And when that dollar appears, tell you what, frame it, put it up on your wall, wherever it comes from. Let that serve as a guidepost. Such desires as these are more easily and quickly obtained than the discontinuance of fixed habits, the welfare of others, and the healing of mental or bodily ills. Accomplish the lesser things first, then take the next step. And when that is accomplished, you will seek the higher and really important objectives in your life. But long before you reach the stage of your progress, many worthwhile desires will find their place on your list. One will be to help others as you have been helped. Great is the reward to those who help and give without thought of self, as it is impossible to be unselfish without gain. Let's read that as we exit out. Great is the reward to those who help and give without thought of self, as it is impossible to be unselfish without gain. We'll pick up here on the conclusion. This is, like I said, a short little jewel of a book, but dynamite. That's all I got to say. Thank you for hitting the like button again. Feed the machine. Folks, I'm excited because, if many of you who have been positive motivators all your life, like myself. And the people that have gone before us that have taught us, our mentors. I think of Zig Ziglar and I can just, Earl Nightingale. I can just go through a number of them and how they helped me. Brian Tracy is a gentleman that changed my life. I was going in such a time of transition in my life. And Brian Tracy's tapes, because that's, when you're on the road, which I was about, 3 weeks out of the month, you know, all the cars had an 8-track tape player, and I wore them out. I wore the tapes out, but they had an impact. So, Beloved Abstract says, be thankful for what you've got. Yeah, it's true. Julianne, thank you for all your gifts and talents, darling. It's a joy. So, folks, when we add this in, because that's what we're doing as part of the group experiment. That's what the workshop really is. These energies, these powers, these principles, these laws, they've existed way before we came along. And if we learn to adapt to them, apply them to our lives, wow. Because I don't know about you, but I'd like to build a huge conference center where not only the Soul Tribe can come, but people from all over the world. A conference center that will serve, 24/7. It will have a constant array of classes, workshops. It would have enough that where there could hold enough people, accommodations. I mean, that's what I have. I see that vision. And I believe it's very real. It's kind of where I fashioned the chamber, the thought chamber, is that it was predicated on this great hall of where people of all walks could be seeking those paths, those enlightenments, learn these truths. Yeah. Anyway, Melanie, you're absolutely, how you doing, Melanie Rains? Good to see you, dear. Yeah, we can't escape the laws, but we can make them work for us instead of against us. Sweetheart, that is spot on. Divine Empress, bring a smile to my heart, darling. All right. So tomorrow, got Lindsay Brown on. I'm looking forward to that. I think today is hump day. I think Nina has her show on there. So Robert Scott, thank you, my friend. The email that you wrote yesterday evening, I read it late last night. Touched me, brother. Touched me. Thank you. You are a jewel. So Paul Joe, thank you. Well, if you use it, it'll work. That's what I want to see. I just want to see us all lifted up, edifying one another, building one another up. And, that's how relationships are built. And we go through scraps and we go through disagreements and arguments, but we always come together. And we all just look at each other and say, you know what? You're beautiful. You are beautiful. And it is an honor to know you. That's how I look at it. So I love the meeting in the astral, the etheric realm. No, that's wrong, Joe, because your friend is deceived. A state of privilege. I don't know what that means. If anyone knows my life, I did not come from privilege. I come from the school of hard knocks, and that's where my PhD is in. And my soul has got the bruises and the scars to show it. No, everything that I have in my life is that which I have brought into my life. And if privilege is knowledge, then hell yeah, I'm privileged. I'm the most privileged walking around here. I am one privileged badass MF. That's all I got to say. If knowledge is that. So, yeah. And, it's those hard knocks, when I lived in the state home, there was a guy by the name of Lewis. And I learned a lesson that day. Now, he was about 4 inches taller than I was, but I mouthed off to him. Woke my ass up off the floor is what I did. Now, I don't know how that's privileged, but that was the environment I lived in. So, Joe, I think your friend needs to do what Solomon said. Even a fool seems wise who keeps his mouth shut, particularly about things like that. Uh, but I love you, man, Joe. So you tell your friend we love him there too. True story, though. I did, and I did. It taught me a lesson. You're a mouthy person. Because even at that age, I walked around with a chip on my shoulder. And, when you walk out with a chip on your shoulder, it's only a target for someone to knock it off. So anyway, your life depicts privilege, Wayne. Robert, that's interesting. I was taught back when Ronald Reagan was running for president, my company did all the political ads. We were going all over the country, but I had to be taught etiquette. I went to etiquette school. They actually required, there was a protocol. I mean, if you go into, a fundraising dinner, there's protocol. And if you, fortunately, where I was, where he became president, those dinners, there's protocol. And you don't want to look like a fool, those forks have a purpose, that's all I got to say. Yeah. Hey, Trina, how you doing? I love this group. No harm, Joe. I know that, brother. No harm intended. Not at all, man. It's all love here in the family. It's like how many of y'all remember the series Soap? Doom, 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 doom. Doom, doom, doom. Anyway, that was a fun family. That's all I got to say. Nobody can repeat your path. That's true, Joyce. That is so true. Grandpa Brian, see you on Friday, brother. But yeah, I'll have just the grandest day. That's just it. I have the grandest day. And hey, wow, wake on way over. Here I am. All right. Thank you all. I love you all. Y'all are just, and no, don't take any offense on anything. We're just having fun, that's the whole thing. And yeah, each of us are so unique. That's what's so great. Brian, 1958, you're welcome. All right. Ginger, much love to you, darling. All right, everyone. And to you, Trina, and everybody else, and Deborah and Jet and all the rest of y'all. We'll see you tomorrow. And thank you. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of your life, if only for an hour or so a day. It's a pretty cool hour. All right. Bye-bye, folks. Talk to you soon.